Hey everyone, it is Jess from the Kidney RD. I want to come talk about one of the P words, potassium, and clarify something that is very, very important about this. So when people get diagnosed with kidney disease, often what happens is they go on and Google, what can I eat for kidney disease? And potassium comes up all over the place, like bananas, potatoes, oranges, and a lot of the articles, how they're written is they say, if you have kidney disease, these are the 15 foods you shouldn't eat. And then they'll list out all these high potassium foods. Here is the big, giant problem with this. This is a huge problem, and this is something that I wish could be really clarified. Even articles written by Helpline have been incorrect about this. Reputable sources that cite evidence are very incorrect about potassium. And I kind of pull my hair out when I see some of these things as a dietitian because the information actually can be damaging to people. So here's the true story about potassium. Number one, potassium does not hurt your kidneys. It does not damage your kidneys. It does not cause kidney failure in any way at all. It's something that your kidneys need to filter out. And so if you're very late stage kidney disease, late stage 4, late stage 5, maybe you're on a blood pressure medication that is causing some potassium imbalances, then you might need to watch it. But if your potassium levels are normal in your blood, and probably almost if you're over stage 3, you don't need a potassium restriction. It doesn't hurt your kidneys. And in fact, there's some really good research out there that talks about how potassium is helpful for you. So if you do not have a potassium restriction, if your potassium is normal on your blood levels, don't pull out those important foods. And here is why. This is really, really critical to know. High potassium foods, or a good amount of potassium in your diet, helps your blood pressure. It helps your blood pressure. So I just did a quick scan through the research. There's a ton of studies on this. You can go to Google Scholar and type in potassium, blood pressure, et cetera, et cetera. Here's basically what looks in the research, and then I'll pull up this specific study from 2019. It's really interesting to share with you. When they do studies on a sodium restriction and what happens to blood pressure, they see some good results. They see that people's blood pressure will improve with a sodium restriction. When they do a sodium restriction plus a high potassium diet, they see an even better improvement. They're going to see that even more the blood pressure reduces. So if you're looking, blood pressure is always a concern with kidney disease, and so we shouldn't be restricting potassium early at all. They are not bad for you. The reason it gets on lists is that if you're on dialysis and you're not filtering it well, you may need to modify the amount of potassium in your diet so that you don't eat way too much and end up in the hospital with something called hyperkalemia or high potassium levels. So I wanted to share with you something that's interesting from this study, and why, again, I get really a little bit irritated. And that's really true. I feel a little bit irritated when I see that all of these lists are saying we need to cut out these high potassium foods, and that's not true. We don't need to cut them out unless your blood work says that your potassium is starting to run high. And even then, you need to look back and see if there's other things that are going on. So let me just share with you a little bit about this study. So this was a study, and I have it on my other screen here, so that's why I'm looking off to the side. So this is a study, and what they did is they were looking at 5,000 participants over the age of 40 with chronic kidney disease at stage 2 or more. And what they were looking at, they were quantifying people by the amount of potassium intake, more or less. And what they found out is that people in the lower, that the rate of progression of chronic kidney disease was higher in the people that ate less potassium. And the people that ate more potassium, they had better blood pressure levels, and their GFR did not decline quite as quickly. So should you go out and eat a bunch of potassium? I'm not saying you need to go load up on it, but what you should not be doing is restricting produce in your diet, which is extremely important for kidney disease. You really, really need to have a very heavy produce diet if there's no reason for it. Potassium is not going to hurt your kidneys. It's just something that if you don't filter well at the very end stages that you might need to look at. If you're not sure if this applies to you or not, talk to a dietitian. We do free nutrition strategy calls at the Kidney RD where we can answer questions like this. Or you can ask your doctor, like, hey, like my potassium levels, what does it look like? Can I eat a lot of potassium or not? And, if you're peeing a lot and you have good function, most likely you may not need a potassium restriction. Some people still do because of some blood pressure medications, but most people really do not need this. So that's my little tidbit for today. In summary, potassium doesn't hurt your kidneys. It's just something you may not filter out well and thus may need to modify. But if you don't need to modify it, then don't, because it can be helpful in your blood pressure and preserving your kidney function. All right, that's it for now. You can drop a note below in the chat, or if you're watching this from YouTube, you can drop a note below on any questions you have about potassium, and we will see if we can get to it. All right, thanks so much. Bye-bye.